Hi friends, I want to talk to you today about one of the most common pitfalls that I see for writers who are completing a first draft of a book. And it tends to be writers who are writing their first book as well. This is something that if you go on retreat with me or you read my book, you're going to hear me talk about a lot. And it's a counterintuitive piece of advice, but I'm telling you, it is the difference between finishing a book and writing a book for many years. Okay, here goes. Never, ever, ever edit your work while you're writing your first draft. Did I just say that? Are you kidding? I'm an editor for 20 years. Why would I tell you not to edit? The fact is that editing calls in the perfectionist brain, which is actually the opposite brain that you need to use when you're writing. Writing is a downloading. Writing is a getting our experience, our ideas onto the page. It's very helpful to have an outline so you don't even have to think about what you're writing that day. You can just sit down with a little chunk that you're supposed to write that day and write it. And I do not want you going back over that writing and criticizing yourself, telling yourself it's not good enough, like noodling over a sentence or two for like 5 hours. Any sound familiar to anybody? These are ways in which you can keep yourself stalled in the writing process when what you really need to be doing is just getting a draft down onto the page. So of course, I talk about this all the time. My favorite writer on writing is Anne Lamott, and she talks about writing a shitty first draft, pardon my French. And the fact is that is one of the most important pieces of advice that I have for writers is to give yourself permission to write and complete a shitty first draft. Because someone who's completed a shitty first draft has completed a first draft. Okay. And if you've been writing a book for any number of months or years, you know that completing a draft is a major event. People write me all the time and they say, I just finished my first draft and I'm going to call KN Literary and work on it. And I always write back the same thing. Huge congratulations to you for completing a first draft. You don't know how rare it is for someone to get that far. So many people, they say 85% of people polled would have a book dream in their heart, would like to write a book someday. If you have finished a draft, you are in like the top 2%. I'm not kidding. It is so rare. And I want to give you all the tools that I know for actually getting that draft written. And this is number one, no editing of your work. You literally are writing right now. Now, like I said, it's really helpful to have had an outline built before you start writing, so you don't even have to think about whether or not this is the right section to be writing today or whether it should fit in chapter 2 or chapter 8. I don't want you thinking about any of that. I want you writing a draft. Once you have a draft, oh my gosh, you can work with it 1,000 different ways. You can talk to an editor. You could bring in a book doctor. You could go back through it yourself and revise and edit it. There are so many different paths that are open to you once you have a draft. It's so important to write and keep writing and not stop yourself in the process. So, I mean, I am somebody who actually loves to hear my own voice. I mean, look at me with all these videos. But I actually really love my writing voice as well. I really love my writing. I love what I make when I write. And I hope you do too about your own writing. And so it's actually very tempting to want to go back and read through what I wrote today and be like, oh, I think I did a good job on that. But I don't even let myself do that. The only thing I let myself do is at the beginning of a writing session, I let myself go back and read the paragraph that I left off with the day before, because I need to know sort of how to build the flow back in when I start writing again. I let myself read that one paragraph. I do not let myself change anything about it. I say to myself, you know what? I'm going to have plenty of time to do that later. I always, when I'm writing a book, whether it's for myself or someone else, I set my completion date and my scheduling of my writing with a good solid month, sometimes more, depending on the book, to revise, to go back in and do the editing that I did not do during the first draft. That is the way that a book gets completed. That's the way that writers who are writing for a living write. They do not noodle. They do not go in there and tinker with a sentence here, a sentence there, a word here, a word there. We write. That's what we do. We write. People who write for a living, we write. And I want you to be one of those people, because you wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't want that as well. So I hope that you'll take this one piece of advice straight to your heart and put a moratorium on writing on editing, excuse me, not writing, on editing for the entire process of writing your first draft. It is, I'm telling you, the #1 key to success. I hope you'll take this advice. I hope you'll tell me how it goes. And I hope you subscribe to this channel because I am always putting up videos here because like I said, what I want is for you to get your book into the world and I'm doing my best to help you do that. So subscribe to the channel, join me again when I post my next video next week, and just know that I'm thinking about you and wishing you all the best on your writing journey every day.